So I am going to demo Google Podcast, which is the most simplistic podcast application.
Podcasts. Explore. Google. Explore. Out of grid.
So this is the Explore. Now let us see the layout first.
Signed in as up. Explore.
So on top you have something called Explore.
Search.
Then you have the sign in, that's your email address. Then you have search, where you can search for our podcast, obviously.
Selected. For you. Tab. 1 of 16.
Then
List,
we have
16
lot
items.
of tabs here. This is the For You tab, where it will show you the podcast that it thinks you are interested in.
News. Tab. 2 of 16.
This is the news category.
Culture. Tab. 3 of 16.
These are all the podcast categories that are
Education.
there.
Tab. 4 of 16. Business. Tab. 5 of 16. Comedy. Tab. 6 of 16. Arts. Tab. 7 of 16. Technology. Tab. 8 of 16.
And this is our category of the podcast. So
Health and fitness. Tab. 9 of 16. Kids and family. Tab. 10 of 16. Science. Tab. 11 of 16. History. Tab. 12 of 16. Self-improvement. Tab. 13 of 16. TV and film. Tab. 14. Music. Tab. 15 of 16. Sports. Tab. 16 of 16. Popular and trending. Out of list.
So this is the popular and trending section.
Jokes in Hindi. In list.
Jokes in Hindi, which is an Indian podcast. Now, this will recommend the podcast in your region. This trending section will be different for different regions because it will recommend podcast fit for your region, for your language.
More actions. Button. My favorite Airman songs.
Arman songs, A.R. Rahman songs.
More
He's a
actions.
popular
Button.
singer in India.
Learning English podcast. Flow Learning English. More actions. Not a music. More actions. TED Talks Daily.
So these are some of the popular trending podcasts. Let us search for our podcast now.
Explore. Out of list. Site. Search. Showing. N. E. L. I. N. D. A. N. D. T. R. O. I. D. D. Space. With Android. Selected. Blind Android users. Keyboard hidden.
And as you type blind Android, you get the blind Android users in the search suggestions.
Blind Android users podcast. Out of list.
And
Google.
you click this.
Blind Android users podcast. Blind Android users podcast. 30 episodes. In list.
And it says 30 episodes. So we have 29 episodes. And then there's a bonus episode.
Blind Android users. Checked. Unsubscribe. Checkbox.
So this checkbox is when you have subscribed, when you have not subscribed. So if you search and come to the blind Android users podcast for the first time, it will say not subscribed, then you can check it and it will subscribe you.
Visit website. Button.
You can visit our website from here.
Share. Button.
You can share the podcast, which you should do.
At Blind Android users, we strive to make using Android as easy as possible for every blind person who's starting the Android journey. We bridge the dividing gap that stands between blind people, both new to Android and those familiar with the platform, on the use of the platform, and revealing what makes the OS the platform to be on. The Blind Android podcast believes that no blind person should be struggling with their Android device. Thus, we have determined to embark on the mission of understanding Android from a blindness perspective as easy as a child's play.
So that is the description.
More. Show more.
And you can see something more. Let's see.
Blind Android users, like, check, visit website, share, at what, more, show more.
If you click on this,
Download episode. Showing
you
items
can
1 to 2 of
download
32.
episode.
Download episode. Blind Android users podcast. Play episode. Blind Android users podcast episode 28. It's all about audio recorders and interview with Ryan Kemler. Add to your queue. Download episode.
So under each episode, there is
Download episode. Add to your queue. Play episode. Blind Android users podcast episode 29. Battle of the OCR packages and interview with Scott Adams and Zoe Ordis from Lookout.
so this is our latest episode.
Add to your queue.
That is add to your queue. So you can add it to a playlist kind of thing where you can queue these with other podcasts so that if you're going on a long trip, you can play these episodes back to back.
Download episode.
You can download the episode for offline viewing. If you don't have internet connectivity, then you can download and play these episodes offline.
Blind Android users podcast. Play episode Blind Android Users Podcast episode 28. It's all about audio recorders and interview with Ryan Kemmler, product manager for TalkBack.
Let's open this or let's play this.
Play episode.
It is time for your favorite Android podcast from the crew of blindandroidusers.com. Kick back and enjoy another fine episode from these Google fanboys as they navigate Android from a blindness perspective. And now, here are your hosts.
Hello and welcome to Add to Your Queue. This download episode is added. Play episode Blind Android Users Podcast episode 28. It's all about audio edition.
So the play episode also converts into a pause episode, and you can then download or add to your queue.
Blind Android Users Podcast. Blind Play button. More actions button.
Then
Play episode Blind Android Users
we
Podcast.
have
Sorted. At Blind Share. Visit website. Checked. Blind Android. More actions button.
on the
list.
top of the page we have these more actions. If you
Pop-up
click
window.
here,
Add to home screen and list.
you can add the shortcut of a podcast to your home screen, so it is easy for you to listen to it.
View RSS feed.
You can view the RSS feed
Settings.
and settings.
Send app feedback.
You can send app feedback. So let's go into
Settings.
settings very quick. I don't think there is anything
More
much
actions button. Out of
in
list.
the settings.
Personalization. Preferred language and region. Downloads.
So this is all personalization, preferred
language
language and region. You can set it.
and region. Downloads.
Let's go into downloads and see what happens.
Auto downloading. Disabled.
Now this, if you have good amount of storage and if you're listening to the episodes on an unmetered connection, you can enable auto downloading. It will download the episodes and archive them.
Remove completed episodes after 24 hours.
This option tells how long do you want to keep your completed list of episodes. That means, let's say you listen to podcast episode 29 and after 24 hours it will remove the episode from your downloaded storage. So you can set various things here.
Remove unfinished episodes after 30 days.
If you have just started an episode and not heard it for 30 days, it will remove it from your list of your either download episodes or queue.
Notifications. Audio playback enabled.
Audio playback has to be enabled or you won't get to hear the podcast.
Notification. Audio. New episodes from your subscriptions disabled.
And you want to enable that.
Explore. New episodes from. Back button. Notification. More actions. New episodes. More actions. Blind Android Users Podcast and list. My Tech Show Podcast.
So these are all your subscriptions
More actions. Pop-up window. Enable for all and list.
and you can enable for all at one time. So let me enable it.
Blind Android Users Podcast and list. My Tech. Play the previous episode from the show Blind Android Users Podcast. Open the show page for Blind Android. Play the next episode. Blind Android Users Podcast. Blind Android Users Podcast episode 28. Play button. Home. Selected. Explore.
So that is it for the Google Podcast demo. It's a very simplistic app. Unfortunately, it does not support chapter markers. So I hope Google implements support for chapter markers urgently, because that is a good, useful feature if the episode is a long episode, or if you want to just skip to a segment that you want to hear first, and then if you want to hear the remaining episode, then you can do that. So that is it from me for this demo.
Excellent. So do tell us what you like. There are a bundle of podcast apps out there, some of which are accessible, some of which aren't. So if you prefer ones we haven't talked about, if you've discovered a hidden gem among podcast apps, then do let us know.
Absolutely. And that we will add that to the list of podcast clients that we like. So if you find another one that you think is nice, that worth the mention, please let us know.